week's edition of Where Peter Is Live. I'm your host, Rachel Amiri. I'm production editor at Where Peter Is. On this weekly live stream, our panel of guests and contributors takes a closer look at some topics we've been talking about or writing about on the site. But tonight, we're joined by a special guest. We're joined by Jeannie Gaffigan, bringing her on. Hi, Jeannie.
Hi, Rachel.
She's a longtime friend and supporter of the site. I guess long time.
Hi, Mike.
Hi.
Hi, Melinda.
Hi. We also have Mike, Lewis, and Melinda Ribnek. Tonight we're going to talk about what 2020 revealed about the church and maybe our families, fellow Catholics, and divisions that we've encountered, and then also how we're moving forward through this emerging new normal, at least in the United States, as we work towards healing those divisions. So we're going to start with a quick prayer while Jeannie tweets for us.
How was it so obvious that I was doing that? I was bowing my head in prayer.
Okay.
The fact that
it was a very contemplative look.
Okay, yeah.
Jeannie is America's Catholic mom, so we should
for God's sake, let's pray.
Michael Lewis bestows that title.
Because I'm surrounded by mothers, why don't we start with the Hail Mary? So in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. God bless our conversation.
Yes.
And all of our viewers and listeners.
Really, honestly.
Honestly, all 14 of y'all. May God bless.
Wait, do you count? We have 14?
No, I see 23 right now. But that doesn't account. That only draws from some of the. I'm sure there are like 300 from somewhere else.
Lies.
It's going up rapidly, though.
The viewers from the future.
It's the power of celebrity. That's something that L. Ron Hubbard did with the Scientology religion. Was able to exploit, well-known.
Did.
So me, because I'm here, they're like, the numbers are shooting up.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Teresa Zoe Williams had Zach Mabry on her podcast recently, and he played Porky in the Little Rascals movie when he was 4 years old. And I'm sure her rating shot through the roof. Oh, and Teresa's actually watching right now. So,
hey, Teresa, what's up?
See, I gave you a shout out. Teresa? What's the name of your of your podcast? Up After Dark, sleeping
Up Too Late.
Up Too Late with Teresa Zoe Williams.
She's going to tell us in a minute.
Oh yes. Wait, she's watching?
Yeah,
yes.
She's commenting
I'm a
right
big
now.
Fan. I'm a big fan, Teresa Zoe Williams.
There we go. Up Too Late. Everyone go subscribe.
After, not during this show.
She was on this stream before Jeannie was a couple weeks ago.
She was on the All Mom episode.
Yes, we had an All Mom episode earlier in May. That was delightful. She just fainted.
Really?
Yeah.
What else I just left right now and what was that on a different screen, like listening to the podcast?
Yeah.
No, I was listening to
We're here for you. So you're back in New York, in your New York City apartment, which I recognize from the Dinner with the Gaffigans episode that you did last.
I have to tell you, I don't want to. You know how I go on and on and on, so I'm going to try not to do that.
No, we love it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I will. Okay. So just so you know, so we've relocated out of the city to an undisclosed location in the woods, which is lovely, by the way. But it's kind of like. How, moms will know this. So you know how, like, if you get an Airbnb or rent a house, I know you recently went to Florida, Rachel, and I'm hoping you were in a hotel.
We were in an Airbnb.
Okay, if you're in an Airbnb, it's like the mom's version of like vacation. The word means doing dishes and laundry in another location, right? So the thing is that imagine this. So we get this like deal. Which, I still love deals because I grew up I'm like, we are abundantly blessed, believe me. But I still am like, wait, is that on sale? Like, I'm still in that. Like,
I feel like that's the Milwaukee coming out too.
Yeah, you're a Midwesterner. Yeah.
But I mean, there
you want a bargain.
People in Milwaukee who grew up not like that too. So, I mean, before we, Monolith Milwaukee.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Oh my God.
This is what I'm saying. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just, you know what? We're not going to start talking about that. I know what the kryptonite is for you, Melinda. So I could just.
Oh no.
No, but basically, it never goes away. But there are definitely people like, I don't know if it's Milwaukee or if it's just the fact that I'm always like aware. So anyway, we get this like amazing deal because you guys know when you go to a city, what you get for your space, like the money per square foot is like ridiculous. So whereas like a 1-bedroom in an apartment in Manhattan will be like, you could get like an 8-bedroom mansion with a pool like elsewhere that doesn't have like, a cool city by it. So anyway, we relocate into this gigantic house that is like 3 times the size of our apartment with like 3 floors, a gigantic backyard with a grill. Like I was in this apartment that I'm in right now when the city shut down. And also because I have, I had comorbidities or whatever, I couldn't even go take out the garbage because we're in a building where there's people and elevators and touching and potential, and at that time they thought it spread on surfaces more. Anyway, and my pulmonologist was like, you can't go on a ventilator again. It's not going to happen. So at that time we didn't know what was going on. So I was in this apartment for 4 months with all my kids. And the pandemic happened. And by the way, I'm very blessed. And I always apologize for complaining ever because I have nothing to complain about. But there's no outdoor space. And I have 5 kids and 3 of them are boys. Okay. No sports. And the pandemic started for us on I think the last day before a 2-week spring break. So there wasn't school.
Yeah.
So a little bit of like, it's 2 a.m. and we're watching a movie going on. And then there was a transition back to school that was just the same place, just with the TV off. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I went through this kind of like really challenging period of time where just to tell people who might not know who I am and be like, who is this loudmouth girl? I went through this thing where I had a little brain tumor that was not little. And when it was removed, I had a lot of complications resulting from the position being on my cranial nerves. So bye, Sky. I am just about to start complaining about something that literally did not happen today, but before. So I had a situation, if you read my book, where I was able to come back to this apartment and, where, all of my 5 kids were raised and be in a hospital situation. So I had like machines, like I had a nurse, I had beeps like that. That was my door. And I had a tracheotomy, I had tubes and everything. So I had people helping me all the time, right? I couldn't even get up and go to the bath by myself. So as I got better and had physical therapy and all this stuff, I only let go of like necessary things because I still couldn't go pick up 5 kids at soccer and ballet or whatever. So what would happen is that when the end of the day would happen or the end of the school day would happen, I'd have like 3 or 4 different like NYU students go to different parts of the city, grab a kid and bring them home. So around dinner, I would have like 6 extra people in my apartment, like that aren't related to me. And I'd be like, okay, well, a lot of people, they don't want to like just an hour of pay, right? So I'd be like, okay. So Abby, you're going to lay out the uniforms and so I was like running this little thing and this little production, right? Because I had people here.
Yeah.
So
like a child raising factory or corporation.
It was like a team effort.
They were, yeah, that's not funny. But Jeannie, it's not funny. So anyway, that was going on. So I had like at dinner and cleanup, it was just like, and like, it wasn't like a lot of my kids doing the work, right?
Yes.
So all of a sudden, we're in a situation where it's like suddenly those little leprechauns that like make all the beds during school and vacuum up all the crumbs, like they were like under quarantine. They didn't come anymore. And I was like, okay, guys, we gotta Team Gaffigan here, right? And it was kind of like culture shock for my kids because they did chores, but they were kind of made up chores. It's like, okay, did you make your bed? And it was like, yep. And there's like laundry in there, you know what I mean? And then they would leave and then I would make the bed, you know?
Their chores were ceremonial to instill respect for their elders.
Exactly. It was just for like responsibility and getting your like fake allowance. So like the kids so much, really, are we sending our kids to the store? What are kids having money for? Maybe you guys are, but I'm not.
No. My kids, the money, like they don't even really they don't even put it anywhere. And it just sort of like winds up on the floor in the kitchen.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Can I say the other day, there was a $10 bill in my boys' room and they're like 8 and 9. So I'm like, you guys, where's this to? Like, where'd you get this $10 bill? Because, it's like a $10 bill, like lying on the floor, right? And Patrick's like, oh, he's like, yeah, I think that was from the Tooth Fairy.
What?
Like,
that's generous.
We have the Tooth Fairy.
I never even saw a $10 bill when I was a kid. And you're throwing it on the floor like it's garbage.
Because who's the Tooth Fairy? That's what. Wait, who's the Tooth Fairy?
It was like from
it had slipped out. It's like, oh, he woke up one morning and like 3 weeks later, the $10 bill.
I know, it was like, that is magic. Oh, yay, the Tooth Fairy came. Whatever. You know what I mean? And then it like went around and it's like they don't understand the value.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean? But they're like, hey, can I buy a game or my friend? You know what I mean? Different kind of.
Well, no. So my son, for the Tooth Fairy, we gave him the same Sacagawea golden dollar for every single tooth that fell out of his mouth. Like he just lost track of it. And it would just wind up under the bed.
Amazing. I want to, so you should write a book of tricks. Like we should pass the book on Catholic Twitter.
But you guys are so organized. I don't think I've ever given my kids anything for the Tooth Fairy. And they still, like, some of the younger ones still think it's a thing, but like literally they've never gotten anything because I'm not like.
We're pretty haphazard.
I wonder about like what's going on over there in the room. Because
what's not going on?
So together. Like the last time I was like, actually I wasn't on. I don't think I've ever been on.
No, I don't think you've been on. I think
I go to the after party. I watch it and I go to the after party.
Yeah.
No offense if you guys haven't been invited to the after party.
Speaking of which, I've already got.
Okay, so anyway, I'm ready. I'm glad you have put me back on track because I'm still going back to the apartment story. But anyway, the point is that Melinda's sitting there with a glass of wine, and I'm going, how the heck is the Mama Six at this hour?
She has 7.
I'm being called to dinner. I'm like, who the hell's making dinner for you?
I'm a kindergartner.
I mean, it's amazing, and they're still hoping that Tooth Fairy shows up someday. There's like
they do, and the thing is that I have like a mat. Like I like being happy and like talking about happy stuff like Tooth Fairies. So I'm so evil. I will still talk about it with them like it's a thing, and yet the thing never shows up because after you talk, you actually have to do something about it, right?
Well, does the kid even remember to put it under the pillow? Like half the time we're. Yes! I mean, my oldest son is like I don't like it. Just things just don't register, or I don't know. But it's just sort of like, hey, this you've had this like on your shelf for like three days. Do you want to like get anything from the Tooth Fairy for it? Or
my kids are fierce and independent and like we're gonna make a buck today. So they will put their tooth under the pillow. I kid you not, this happened a couple weeks ago. This child had his tooth under his pillow for like 2 months. I'm pretty sure it was starting to decompose.
Yeah. My daughter, my 7-year-old, she for 3 days in a row, she's like, Mom, the Tooth Fairy forgot to come again.
I mean, these stories are so therapeutic for me. You're like, oh my God, I'm the only one who. They're just like, my tooth's still here.
No. Yeah, I promise you.
It's like all of a sudden, it's like that that moment where someone's just like questioning like the existence of God, and they're having
Right.
this crisis,
And Santa
you're like,
and everything.
no other parent has ever forgotten that their precious child tooth, and then we all do. You know.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness.
I can
That's the
promise you,
reality.
if you ever feel neglectful, just call me. You will feel instantly better about yourself. Like,
This is. Do you want to hear? This is a Lewis household story right here. So we are homeschoolers,
oh boy.
and
I'm just kidding. I'm not
and
judging.
I've always been kind of like, I mean, I actually, we probably going to put our kids into school, all into school in the next, like not this upcoming school year because we're like behind the ball and we haven't figured it out, but the year after that. And, but the thing is, the pandemic has taken sort of our family's sense of disorganization and turned it into disorientation. And we have no sense of time anymore.
Yeah, this is what we should be talking about. Actually, I don't want to. We can still get to all the other stuff.
Yeah, well, more time. Like Pope Francis talks about
I'm
time
like-
being greater than space, so it's related.
No, literally, like Rachel, like today sent me like a list of like 20 questions. And it was like, yeah, I'll get right on this, Rachel.
No, but let me finish the story. So this year we put my kids into faith formation, like CCD, and so my oldest one, Stephen, he's actually getting confirmed tomorrow. Wow. But so he was in confirmation class, and we figured since we'd have to put the other ones in, or we put the other ones in just to get rid of, so we just had the little one, Lucy, at home. But and because Stephen was in confirmation class and the other two are in first and sixth, not sacraments, we made sure that he kind of stayed on top of doing his work, more or less. We got a note in like mid-December from the DRE at our parish that was like, yeah, Elizabeth and Peter are a little behind. They haven't turned in any assignments yet this year.
Look, give me their number, Mike. I'll call them on behalf. I'll be like, these are the kids of the Mike Lewis.
Well, I don't even know how much they're picking up from. I tried.
You're right about this
Online
stuff all day
catechesis.
long.
Yeah.
I got you.
Anyway.
And I know what you guys, we are all, and I don't know who's watching. Are we up to 23 yet?
I think we're down.
34. 34.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Okay.
Multiply it by 10, though. People just dropped off. 32. 32 people.
As soon as I said that, they're like, oh no, they see me.
I know.
Okay, but I want to just say that, like, I think that we're all, in our little boxes, like, having these experiences or looking back over the pandemic and having these experiences of, like, my kid's the only one who was, like, at the little Zoom class for, like, months. And then one day the teacher's like, I don't know if something's wrong with your internet, but nothing got turned in. So it's like once we start to, like, communicate with each other about and this is very actually spiritual, about, our sort of shortcomings or our failures or the way that we feel like, that we haven't been, like, hitting the bullseye and everything. Mm-hmm. It's like such like, this is getting to Rachel's probing questions about, like, how humor, right? How humor is, like, such a uniter, right? When there's, like, people, I mean, when people have, debilitating tragedies in a life at a funeral home or they're sitting together having a chemotherapy together.
Yeah.
Some of the most beautiful moments of humor and laughter and human and this love, right? And it's like we have to just remember that humor is healing and it's a gift from God.
Amen.
And it's a beautiful thing. So, and this will also apply to all the stuff about what, all the divisiveness in the church and things like that. It's like there is kind of, a solution on the horizon where we have to be able to laugh about it with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Trad, I mean, I don't know. Is it still called trad?
It's called trad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like we could facilitate this. I feel like we should do a skit show, Jeannie.
Yeah.
We can do this.
Yeah.
Let's do skits, parodies, satire. Let's, like,
what's it called when you mix up words and another word? So you've got drat, right?
Yeah, anagrams, or is that what it is?
Yeah.
You're playing trad anagrams? Is that?
I don't know. I just wrote down drat just because I'm so tired. And I was like, that's not fair. So anyway, but there's been moments between like myself and someone that I'm having some kind of like complete philosophical and theological debate with, where it's been funny and we both realized it at the same time, and it just kind of levels everything off. And so anyway, just put a pin in that for later. But let me just go back to this vacuuming story. So basically, I made this goal that I was going to vacuum my house every day during the pandemic and wear red lipstick. Because I was like, I have to hang on to society in some way. Because
standards.
And to feel human.
Yeah. Because when you have, first of all, by the way, I never wore lipstick, before. But it was kind of like how, like, Mike homeschooled. And then when we all homeschooled, he was like, I'm going to send my kids to school in a pandemic. I was kidding. But it's kind of like the people who like never left their house were like, I can't go exercising now. And you're like, yeah, but you never did. Right?
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, so I just was like, I'm going to make a vow to wear lipstick because you really only wear lipstick to go out. Right. And so it was kind of like this, like, I'm going to like present to nobody and my kids that I'm like doing fine because I put some lipstick on. I never did before. So I did that tonight just to make you guys all feel intimidated.
Looking all nice. Look at you.
Leslie Colvin
Okay.
is adding that she started wearing lipstick at home a couple of months ago too. So,
What a coincidence. Out of our 30 viewers, one can relate.
No, and also Leslie, she's a star, by the way. Yeah,
Oh.
she's a star. Oh yeah,
Star.
that's my. I've never actually been in the same room with her except for in a Zoom, but I love her. She's like my sister. I don't know how this happened, but she's amazing. And you should have her as a guest, by the way. I mean, if she wants to do it, because she's just her brain is like beautiful. Okay, so anyway, I decided
vacuuming.
Also, I'm good. Yeah, put her on your wish list because she's brilliant. Okay, so anyway, after a couple of days of not vacuuming, I realized that that's not, it's not making me happy to like step on sticky things and, because I'm not wearing shoes, right? And I was like, okay, I have to vacuum this house every day to feel like it's livable. But by then putting the lipstick, not so much, but the vacuuming thing became like, I have to vacuum still, right? Even though when I started to get really busy, because all of a sudden, like, all the not-for-profit sectors started to like kind of fall apart because all their benefits were canceled in May. And like a lot of charitable events that like my husband and I were going to like perform at or speak at got canceled. So people were like, we're doing a Zoom benefit, and it wound up being like a really, really busy time. So it was like, we have a Zoom, we have a, it was very, very crazy. And then I was like, I have to vacuum. Oh, why? Right? So then one day I realized that I was like, what am I, like, if I skip a day vacuuming, like, it will be gross, right? But it's not like skipping, like, eventually I'll do it. And one day I realized, I'm just like, do I think that someone is going to like come over? Right? It's like nobody, you look, they were boarding up, like outside this, with all these lights outside, there were people boarding up windows. It was like Armageddon, right?
And you're like vacuuming.
And I'm vacuuming, not only am I vacuuming, but I'm like, I don't have time to vacuum. And I'm like, I have to vacuum or something really horrible is going to happen. And I realized—
Well, you invited America into your home every night for dinner.
Yeah, but no, you can't see if the
floor. See that.
The floor. You can't see the crumbs.
So
you can't see my room right now. It's ridiculous.
So then I realized that like I might have had some kind of weird fear. And this is like, we all probably had moments of like losing our mind, like how Mike was just talking about family being disorganized, pandemic happens, and it just is like, what day is it?
Yeah.
For like months. And the kids' teeth fall out and the new ones grow in, and you're like, was that like one day? And it's, or a year, I don't know. So
which kid are you?
Yeah. What's your name?
Yeah.
So what I realized is that, no one's coming over, and I had to let go of this feeling that the door was going to open one day with like a camera crew being like, Are your floors clean? This was all a test. You've been punked. There's no pandemic. And we're just checking to see if you cleaned your floors. And when did you change your teeth last? And are there 3 or 4 teeth under your kid's pillow with no money?
Ooh, nasty.
That was your idea. I
know. It wasn't my idea. It was my reality, not my idea.
It's amazing how during those really stressful times we try to like assert control over the situation though. Like even if it's just I'm gonna vacuum every day. For me it was like I'm gonna shower and put on makeup. Like that'll make me feel good about this impossible end of the world scenario and everything.
I do have to add that I did not shower. I just put on the lipstick.
you just did the lipstick.
Because
just another layer.
Zoom has no smell. You know what I'm saying?
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Praise God. God is so good.
I know. God is so good. Can I just say, I know I'm going to lose a lot of you guys right now. Do we have 30 yet? 29?
We're still over. We're hovering. We're holding still. Ever since Leslie chimed in.
Oh, no. You guys just all froze. You all froze. Everyone froze. Nope. Okay, good. Okay. Okay. So, what? No, I think that's a panic. Like you're giving a talk and all of a sudden you're like, and you're like, oh no. So
we lost Jeannie and she'll never come back.
I'll never come back. Yeah. So bad. What were we talking about before I had a brain aneurysm? But that's not funny.
No.
Yeah. What were we just talking about? It was like we're
talking about control over a situation.
Okay. Yes. So that was like how I felt like I could control things, and Zoom has no smell.
That's where we
smell-o-vision has not been invented.
Praise God.
No.
Yeah.
Praise God.
So did you find that your experience of like having gone through your whole brain tumor experience of like being stuck in your apartment and hooked up to all these machines and, you know, you wrote this whole book, When Life Gives You Pears, which I know Mike wants to ask you about.
Well, I want to do
no.
I learned how to do this during the last episode of The Critical Catholic. Watch.
Oh boy.
Okay. There we go.
Isn't that exciting?
From several years
I feel like, Mike, you really want to like Photoshop your face under there and be like, you know, one of the kids hanging out with the pears. I feel like that's what all of this kind of fixation has been about, really.
That's a good cover.
But you know, my complaint, Jeannie, is that like I was expecting. So, first of all, there are at least, I think there's 7 pears on the cover of this book. And there's this scenario where it looks like you're saving your family from giant pears that are falling from the sky. Mm-hmm. And I must have missed that part in the book because it didn't happen.
It was that's a very literal interpretation.
It is a very little.
I mean, they look really distressed in that picture. So I don't know. This is okay. One other thing, and sorry, and then Rachel, you can start asking the questions you were.
That's like the daddest dad joke ever. Like that is like
he knows dad jokes too.
That you need to get a Father of the Year award for that one.
Thank you. That for worst dad joke. Anyway, okay. So here's the other thing. This is the other thing. So when like reading that book and then seeing the Dinner with the Gaffigans, and when you go, Katie Michael Patrick. Like that was my mom's that's your 3, 4, and 5. And you also have Mari, who's number 1. Our number 4 was Mary. But 1, 2, 3, and my 1, 2, 3 in my family were Katie Michael Patrick, and yours are Katie Michael Patrick. So it brings back memories.
Cool.
So
anyway. I know that is really cool because it's like, you know how when you have kids, you blend their names together. Mm-hmm. Like that's like a thing, right? Yeah.
And you yell at them in the exact same order every time.
Melinda, what? How are you not having?
I didn't even know their names, honestly.
Yeah. Thing 1, thing 2.
It's not to blend what you don't know. Right. So yeah.
I use the wrong names.
It just sounds like an extra step.
I do.
Blend.
I call my Elizabeth Mary after my little sister, and I call my son Stephen Patrick after my brother Patrick. But they say that like your brain compartmentalizes like the people you love, and there's a reason why you tangle up your kids and your siblings and stuff like that.
That's
and
cute.
you get those wrong because you're drawing from a different part of your brain than like, people you do podcasts with or whatever. Actually, no, you guys are like in there too now. It's like
Do you call your kids
Rachel,
Mel?
Dave, Rachel, Dan, Melinda,
Mel.
whatever your name is.
So I have to say that my transition, because basically what happened is that my husband, who is an entertainer, got a job because he touring stopped, right? Anything with traveling or large crowds, that's kind of our thing, right? Traveling and large crowds. So he got a job in Canada. And in the pandemic, and you have all these travel restrictions, and then everywhere you go, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and then it was a whole thing, and you can't leave. So because it was a work opportunity. At the time, I thought, I didn't know it was going to be so long, but I thought maybe people getting vaccinated, I would find like a sitter or a helper or whatever. Mm-hmm. But so anyway, it's been like really challenging. And to answer Rachel's question, like my payer experience was a prequel to the pandemic because it was my personal pandemic, right? Like I could go anywhere, the world was stopped, I was sick, I was afraid of getting sicker. It was very similar, and I had to learn all these lessons about myself and my love and control and all that stuff, and God. So at first I was like, this is like, I kind of was like, this is what I was saying. It was like, it might not be a brain tumor, but something's coming, and be ready for it because it's coming, and everything that you like is going to be really hard to obtain. And I might not, you can read it in my book. I literally said, it's coming, something. As your life goes on, more and more, crises happen, and you get stronger to deal with them. And I don't know if any of you have friends or family who's had a tragedy when they were a kid, like a sibling that was, died, or God forbid, something really bad happened to them, and they're just like really, really, really maturing together. Like it's a growth. Pain is a growth. So although I did have some like prep for this, once the dad left, and I'm not saying that Jim is like my, he's not like cooking me dinner or, well, yeah, he is cooking me dinner sometimes, but he is.
I've seen this cooking show. He makes.
He
grilled. Yeah,
he Gaffigan is exposed.
He made toast. He used the real bread, not the fake stuff.
Yes.
Yep.
I feel like I saw him cooking chicken fingers one time with a little boy.
Yeah, no, he microwaves and grills and stuff. So and it's very helpful, believe me. But it's something about not having that other adult in the house that was like I was not, it was kind of like going through my sickness, but having like no nurses, and you know what I mean? Like, like, all right, you're this sick and now you're the nurse. And not only that, but you're in charge of all these other people who are having like problems with school and problems with emotions and going through puberty by themselves with no other friends around, and learning stuff on TikTok that they are way too young to learn. A lot of stuff happening. So that presented a really, really, really big personal challenge for me. And more so because Jim was gone. So, and that we weren't in the New York, because that's where it's easier to do things. Like there's a 24-hour pharmacy. When someone gets sick, you just, it's like a very convenient place to live. So, and then especially in the pandemic, like everything became delivered and everything, but they have to be open, right? So in New York, like something's always open. So I'm in the country and no gym, and then things start to kind of turn around where there's, you can go to mass again. There's things to do outside. People are going back to school and wearing masks, and, and so I'm in a situation where I'm like, okay, I could do some of this stuff, but it's enormously difficult because even when like my daughter Katie got really sick and I took her to the hospital, like I didn't have a sitter. Do you know what I mean? So it was a very different experience. So, and also, by the way, Jim adopted a dog for the kids. And I was kind of like, no, because not that I'm like a cruel like animal hater, but I just knew that like eventually it was gonna, the coin of phrase, bite me in the butt. So basically, what happened recently was because my son, who's a freshman in high school is hybrid. All the distance learning kids, because my kids were all distance learning because we relocated, right? So I did mass virtually in my parish. I went to live masses around where I was, but I couldn't drive, 2-3 hours to go to mass in my parish. So I did my parish virtually, and my religious ed class and stuff like that I teach, and my kids did their religious ed classes over Zoom and things like that. But eventually, my son's school was like, we're requiring exams in person because they had a good protocol and they just couldn't they couldn't figure out a way to do final exams that were weighted the same way with Zoom. And, there's something called Digi exam where everything else on your computer shuts down, but you could literally have another computer next to you and be Googling all the answers. Like there's no way to be able to
monitor it.
So I was like, okay, so I'm coming back to the city and I'm going to, but I also had a situation where I had a homeschool teacher coming for my little boys because that's what really messed me up during the vacuuming. Right?
The vacuuming phase.
I have one kid who's like,
those little kids on
leave me alone. I got it, mom. I got it, mom. And they basically the way that they figured it out, which meaning they didn't when they first went virtual with school, they were like, we're going to have a morning meeting at 8:30 and everyone's going to log in, get all these assignments, and then we're going to present them at 3:30.
Oh, that's too intense.
So who's going to be sitting with the kids so they're not watching TV all day? Oh, the vacuumer, who has her own Zoom she's running. So
at least you were vacuuming. I mean, points for that. I'm gonna be honest.
I do. I should get points. But the thing is, Melinda, is that there were no points.
There were no points. No prizes.
No, wait. So in this scenario, me, who really did nothing at all, won.
You did.
I'm not taking it like that.
You won. Because
Yeah, cool.
you're drinking a glass of wine and I'm like having a mental breakdown.
That's correct.
Anyway, long story short, I went to New York for these things, brought the kids, dog, and then it turned out that the dog was terrified of going to, I don't want to, dogs eliminate their liquid. I know you don't like to.
Oh my God!
We're
not gonna do this.
The P word. I know that. I heard there was no cursing on this show.
I accidentally did.
The dog didn't want to make a tinkle on the street because there were a lot of horns honking and stuff like that. And there was like, she was like, this is like awkward. And there's no trees and whatever. So it turns out that's not good. And it could be a crisis because days are going by, right?
Wait. This dog is up in your house and hasn't tinkled yet?
No, it got resolved today, but it was a whole thing. And you
said it peed on your carpet today.
Yes.
Oh, no.
But it was like 3 days worth. And but listen, but here's the other thing is that the Lord in his mercy and because I always do say Mother Mary, like I can't, like, please, I need you because I don't know what to do.
That chick was like, that's a dog peeing.
But
like,
I'm going to go back and say that the dog peeing was actually a really positive thing because it could have been like a vet thing, right? So I was happily pouring vinegar on my carpet and scrubbing it off because I was like, you know what I mean? And there's a metaphor in there, okay? Because it's beautiful. So it's a beautiful metaphor.
Right.
But I was out on the street this morning walking back and forth after having my first teenage fight with my 12-year-old. Like, how they're like, I can wear whatever I want. I'm my own person. And I was like, you can't wear that to mass, right? right? And then there's like, but it's not fair, you know. Then I was like, what? But you were just a little girl with like bows in your hair, and I could just do whatever I wanted, and say do this, and you say yes, and now you're saying no, and I'm having all these weird things. So I'm back in New York. Dog's not peeing. I'm pacing around. One of the moms, I'm on a mom chat, okay, and it's like, who has the math homework? It's like that kind of thing, or what time is the whatever. And one of the moms is like, is it formal uniform and mass today? And I'm like, because it's like a really big deal because there's always school class masses, but they all got canceled. So now the head of school is like, we're doing the class masses because we figured it out and we're vaccinated and like we'll wear masks. And because so
I feel like I know so much about your life right now, Jeannie. It's incredible. Like,
so I'm
remarkably detailed.
Mom chats, formal uniform, and I go, oh my gosh, my daughter, I knew that it was mask, but I didn't know it was formal uniform. And so, but it wasn't. It turned out it wasn't, but it still was kind of, you know, not a completely appropriate outfit for mask. It was denim jumper, which sounds cute, but it had like fringe. It had fringe, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it was cute for, you know, other things, but not mask. So, I mean, in that sense. So then I was like, oh, my daughter just left for school and she's not wearing uniform. So I don't know what's happening. So then another mom is like, are you back in the city? Because I realized that I was just like answering texts when everyone was like, when are you coming back to the city? And she was like, oh my God, are you back? She's like, I moved to your neighborhood. And I said, oh my gosh. And I told her about the dog. And she's like, my daughter's home from college, nothing to do. And she's like, do you want her to walk your dog? And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, Lord,
that's all it.
You understand? The Lord has mercy on us. Because I'm like, all of a sudden we move next door and I have a teenage daughter who's in college and home and done with school. And she's like, gonna walk the dog. Like,
walk the dog. Like, she better keep the dog after that dog.
Like, show me you exist and send me someone to help me. And like, it was like, bam. So anyway, I'm just saying. But being back in the apartment is very off-putting to me because I'm having these flashbacks of when the confusion, right? Yeah. So when we were like, what's happening? And like people in Italy, they were like turning away. People are like, no, you're too old. You can't get a ventilator. Remember that? And it was like, wait a minute, what's happening? So in end of the long answer is that like it's not like I'm like, well, good thing I had a brain tumor and wrote a book because I'm so good at handling everything. Because, you know, it's a constant process of setting boundaries to yourself, realizing you're not in control, and then just saying, Lord, I have literally no idea what I'm doing. I'm failing as a mother.
I love that part.
I need your help. And it's like, ring, college student, unemployed, needs job, walking dog. You know, it was like amazing. So I just think that the end of this long tirade that I just went on
it was long.
It was long, but it is, you know, keep on knocking and the door shall be opened unto
beautiful.
You. Okay, Mike.
Beautiful.
Mike, okay. I actually, one of the things that you said made me kind of think because, you know, we wanted to talk a little bit about parenting, and you mentioned like kids who have some kind of trauma or, you know, experience something heavy in their lives. You know, it changes them, it matures them. And I know that, you know, maybe your two little ones aren't old enough to remember, but your older kids were definitely, I mean, when you were in the hospital and you know, you came home and you were on all kinds of, you're still attached to oxygen and other things. Like, do you think that they grew up a lot more than?
I know where you're going with this, and in a way, yes, and I'm grateful that we had this growing pains as a family. But I think that what I'm talking about is like my situation turned out good, right? Yeah. So I had a situation where the outcome. And kids are very resilient, right? So it's like, that's why there is going to be some fallout from this pandemic, but academically and things like that, I think there is going to be like a dip in scores if kids did absorb as much, or things were weird, or there might be like there was some tears like when there was some adjustment socially and stuff like that when kids saw their friends. I mean, my kids are definitely going through a bit of emotional upheaval right now. We're coming back to New York, but kids are very resilient. But what I'm actually talking about is like when it doesn't, like when they lose somebody, like think something happens where, mom doesn't come back from the hospital.
Yeah.
Or your brother doesn't come back from riding a skateboard down the street when you're a kid. And like, there's certain people that I've met and they don't open with that. They don't open with their pain of their childhood. Like people don't open with that. They just you become close to people. And then eventually you're like, oh wait, I thought you were an only child. You know what I mean? And then they're like, no, there's this whole other thing that happened. What I'm talking about is in those situations, and this is not, I'm hoping that my kids are, grow because of it, but it's not the same as when you completely lose someone. And I think that what I'm talking about is like that there's different levels of growth, right? There's growth. We all know, and Melinda, you've shared horrific things that have happened to you, and you've grown in your spirituality and your ability to forgive, your ability to love. So you don't want to go back there and like be like, well, more, I can get more growth out of this having an experience. But you can now acknowledge that pain helped you grow.
Oh, absolutely.
So what I'm saying is that some of the people that have had real crises, you think, from what you would expect from, the world is that, oh, that person's going to be so messed up or whatever. But the truth is they're not. They grew up and they understood. They're like, oh, wait, I have to be grateful for what I have. And so, my kids are great, but they're not like some kind of like wizard maturity kids at all. They're very, they're very average. Like
my kids are very average.
They're very like, of course I think
normally developing.
Mine are above average.
Like, we still are like arguing about that they can wear holes in their pants to mass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think my kids forgot how to go to mass during the pandemic. Like they just forgot. Like,
well, I mean,
why can't I wear my
at
gym shorts?
dinner going? Do you not feel that giant crumb on your face? Like, have you forgot? Like, at some point we're going to have to go back into public, and you're going to have to eat not like an animal. And I don't know how, because I used to actually. Did any of you guys ever like any? Because I know Melinda didn't. Because I'm just guessing that if you don't like, the things that I'm not going to say the truth.
Bodily fluids.
Right.
I mean, we can talk about it. We can do this.
Right.
We don't need to.
Whole episode on that. But I'm actually starting a live stream called Bodily Fluids that I want you to. So no. Anyway, so I used to watch this zombie show. Right. I don't want to do any advertising, but it was like it wasn't just about like zombies eating you. It was like a cultural study of like how certain people react to the apocalypse, right? And there's people who are good and there's people who are like eating each other immediately, right? So I remember thinking like, wait a minute, this happened 2 years ago and these people are already eating each other? Like that would never happen. Now I'm like, yeah, it would.
Yeah, totally, that's how it played out.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, because it's like people are like, all the stuff that I got exposed to, which is in your list of questions, is because I was just too busy before to notice any division in my parish, or there was a division. I mean, it's like I wasn't awake, okay, because I was busy and I was not thinking there was any nickel's worth of difference. And I talked about this with you at the after party that one night, where I just thought it was all part of the same thing. It's like you do the homeless thing and you do the, help people. And then, obviously you make sure that you lift up people who are suffering from like racial inequality. And you also, help unwed mother who's, faced with the, should I have my baby? Like it's all part of the same thing. And then the pandemic happened, and I saw that like people didn't think it was, and it was shocking to me. And you know, now I think that the question that I don't want to give away your question because I feel like prepped for it. Is that, you know, I saw just, you know, people like the cannibal, you know, thing that I was talking about. The attacking of each other was such a disgrace, and it was so eye-opening. And I know that like probably all of us in this podcast have like gone on the attack, but I still feel that it's not, I'm just going to attack someone today. I don't feel like that I've ever engaged in that. And if I had, God forgive me, and please somebody come to me and tell me I've done that. But what I'm seeing is people just viciously attacking each other. And I see a movement within the Catholic Church of a bunch of people who aren't going to put up with it. Okay. And so recently there was that whole thing that went on like a few days ago, or was it yesterday? I don't remember. It's all a blur. Where a certain bishop who I was always like kind of a fan of, because he had this amazing like media. It was actually good, well-produced series. And I was into it because I'm a producer, right? And a director. And I was like, this is really well done. And I never thought, what?
Melinda's getting ready for this.
Okay. So,
go ahead, girl. Go ahead.
She's ready now.
Watch the series. And then all of a sudden I started seeing like, you know, because of being awakened to some of these things, I won't use the word
woke.
Broke. Oh, okay. So I'm so right up. So the reason why I like started to really kind of engage in this dialogue is because I got tapped in. I got pulled into it by the vitriol of like people who started attacking me for no reason. And that's when I started being like, wait, what's going on? And then that's when I found Mike, you know, and I had articles and I found where Peter is. And I was like, okay, this is a whole thing. There's a movement. I found Melinda. I found Rachel. I found Leslie. Hi, Leslie, if you're still on. And
Leslie's one.
It's a movement. It's not groups and you know, this us against them. It's a bunch of like, you know, ignorant people. No offense to the people who are ignorant, but you are, and who are not aware of how damaging how they are treating our faith and our church, what they are doing to it. And there's a whole bunch of us, so get ready, that are not going to put up with it because it's not true.
Amen.
And we're a movement, and we're coming.
Dang.
I'm not interested. I don't have time to sit here and just snipe back and forth at each other, right? I'm saying this is a movement that is moving in a progressive direction. And I'm sorry I used the P word. I know there's no cursing on the show.
But you don't even mean it politically. You just mean it like literally. Yeah.
Yeah, but even if I did mean it politically, I don't. But I just, it's like I literally could say, like, I remember. Here's a good example. I knew that there was a bunch of crazies out there. Oh, is someone telling me to shut up?
Oh my God, Jeannie!
Go there. Bishop Barrett is my friend. Did I say his name? Anyway, so
Jeannie's unleashed, man. I'm here for it.
Number is down, but anyway,
Mike is sweating.
Mike, wipe your brow. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Well, I think
I gotta do it like that.
It's like when we start going, you know. But anyway, there were some things where, like, I have a disabled sister, okay, and there was like a few years ago, there was this huge like women's march. Remember that with the
hats?
Yeah. And there was this whole like, you know, us against them all of a sudden. And so I was in a, you know, position where I was not really like involved in this whole thing. And my sister's disabled though, right? So somebody posted some disabled people people experiencing disability. I don't know if there's a proper way to say it. People who were not, people who were experiencing disability at this rally saying rights for disabled people, right? And I was like, I posted it and I was like, yes, it's like disabled people like are people who are marginalized. And it just was a beautiful picture of all these like people who are like going in their wheelchairs and saying, I'm going through all this trouble to go to Washington and hold up a sign and say, I'm part of this like movement too, where I want, and it was just like, I think my sister had shared it with me and she felt like connected and I tweeted it. And then I got all this people attacking me because it was like, I was like pro whatever message was going on at the, like everything that was disagreed with. I was like, because I said that disabled people should have rights. Like that's all I said.
Yeah.
And so when you start going down that path or you start using like unborn children as a shield so you don't have to make an argument and you don't have to be logical and you don't have to think and use your brain and you don't have to you don't have to open your heart to Jesus and love, and you are using you're disrespecting a human life by using an unborn child as an argument. I believe that people who say, what about abortion, are disrespectful. They're disrespectful because they don't give a hoot. Sorry, I know I can't swear. And
hoot, that was such a Midwestern.
Going back to the classic Gaffigan style without the cursing and the.
They're not really.
Well, they're not also
about the issues that these women are experiencing.
Yeah, and that's one of the keys. Yeah, that's one of the keys to Pope Francis, I think, is that. And one of the reasons why people can't stand him, it's because like he will see like, okay, scientists and people in the third world and all these people are warning us about like this climate problem. And he is bringing our attention to it from a Catholic perspective, for example. And he's being attacked for it because if he's talking about climate, well, that must mean he's one of those people. Like on that side in that group. And it's like,
what's the motivation? It's not a good motivation. It's
us versus them. We want to take those people down.
It's worse than us versus them. I mean, it is a mob mentality because I think that some people who are arguing don't even know what they're arguing about. Like I just experienced that where somebody started arguing about something with me and I was like, I'm not even following I don't think you're even following what you're saying. It's like you're just against me. So there is some kind of stuff like that. But I do think that when Pope Francis is calling attention to climate change and someone brings up abortion, there is something really bad at work there. Because the climate and the earth ultimately is pro-life. And it is for unborn children and the children of their unborn children.
For the future, yeah.
And so like it's diabolical because it's like saying I'm stopping you right there because you want to hurt like it's like it's a fake, like I don't believe there's any real love or charity or concern for the unborn argument.
I would hesitate from any like all or nothing language. So I would definitely hesitate from there's no concern. But what I would say is this is a weaponization of the unborn and without their consent. So the reason why the unborn are so easily to be used as, to confront other issues and to as if you're weighing them against them or dichotomizing them or weaponizing the unborn against other issues is because they don't have a voice. Right? Unlike victims of different injustices who do. So if I'm a victim of a different kind of marginalization, racism, like wage inequities, all of that, right? I can at least have a voice for what I want my cause to be. But the unborn have no voice. So it's very easy for them to be manipulated. And I will say, again, I would hesitate from saying that with most cases something would be all or nothing. But I do think the temptation is to maybe even take a legitimate desire and recognition of an unborn life and to grossly like manipulate that and to turn that into.
I am sorry if I said that they don't care, but I would also disagree with you that everyone does care. So
I agree.
I do think that, because believe me, I was at like Prayer for Life for years. I was at, I care about unborn children. I do. And their right to live. I don't care about it, right? So, and I'm saying that I know that a lot of people who are, just like that's their issue and there's nothing else, and they will kind of buy into the whole, like, Pope Francis is just trying to distract us from what's really happening by caring about the earth. Like, that there is a big bunch of good people who love babies or whatever. But I'm saying the people who
are running it.
I don't think that those people are understanding that it's become a weapon.
Right.
It's a weaponization of a human life, and it's of many human lives. And it's like actually showing disrespect for life by using it in this very, it's just, it's very, I don't want to say disheartening because that's too vile of a term. I don't want to say vile because someone just recently used that.
Gut wrenching. There you go. Gut wrenching.
But no, it's also, it's kind of chilling. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, you can't just constantly go back to the, like, that's not progress. That's like insanity. That's like saying you're not listening to the fact that the world or the climate or racism or education or inequality in wages or these many other things that we need to spend our energy working on. You don't need to have 15 meetings about whether or not President Biden could get communion.
Amen.
Huge issues.
Right.
Inequality and unchristian injustices in the world that we need every bit of our energy and our brains and our power and our love to bring together and try to help and progress as a church. There's so many issues that are actually issues. Who's, like, it's just baffling to me.
Yeah.
What I hear you saying is, like, you're looking at the fruit of kind of a lot of these arguments and how they descend into this vitriol, and we're judging from the fruit of, like, does this promote division in the church, or is this actually helping us move towards a place where we can address these issues constructively? And so if we look at what the fruit is, and if the fruit is more division and this increasing polarization and endless debate and argument and going nowhere, then that's not.
So, but I think this way is the reason. Let me just put it this way. I know you're going to say something to write down. This is going to be long. No, I'm just kidding. So, if Pope Francis is concerned about the environment, and I could substitute the environment on many other issues of social justice. If Pope Francis is concerned, and you are saying, what about ism, right? How is that helping? Like, what is that going to do? Is Pope Francis going to say, oh, you're right, forget about the earth, and let's concentrate on what? But a message or a stance, or is it like, what is the point? Like, what? Like, I understand the point of, like, saying, like, someone who is like a mouthpiece for the church, let's say, starts publishing or standing on the altar and saying things that are harmful. I understand a bunch of smarter people, like, getting together and saying, no, I'm calling you out on that. If that's hypocritical and that's not what Jesus said. That's wrong. So stop doing it. That's not going on the attack for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, that's a movement that I can get behind and want to be part of because it goes somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if someone said to me, like, for instance, if I said, hey, can you I'm raising money because I want to do a big, like, catered dinner for this group of people experiencing homelessness, and I want to buy all this pasta, and so I'm raising money. I need to raise like $600, and I want to buy like 10 cases of pasta from Costco. And
So
the person
detailed.
says, I know, I'm so detailed. And the person says, no, well, the thing is, though, is that I actually am raising money for like an animal shelter, so I am going to tear down your fundraiser.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being like, you know what, you're doing that fundraiser and I'm doing this fundraiser, and what could we do together to make both of our things happen and all our dreams come true?
Well, and especially because when you really peel it back, they're all interconnected. You know, what helps one cause, like legitimately, not manipulations, what legitimately helps one cause helps another.
So
And
we're working together.
Mhm.
So climate change, as I just said, and it's about the future, right?
Mhm.
You know, people who are, you know, pregnant with unborn babies have the future inside of their body. So it's so connected. It's so obvious.
And if you took climate change too, we know that, first of all problems, very much including climate change, disproportionately affect the poor, right? Yeah. And when we look at the correlation of abortion, because I hate to burst some of these people's bubbles that are out there talking some foolishness, but women don't typically want to wake up a day and go have an abortion, right? There are stresses and factors that are involved, right? That is not a thing to actually want to go have an abortion. So when you look at those causes, like, so many of them are linked to poverty, right? So addressing those root causes, it's all interconnected. Climate change, wealth disparity, just wages for the poor, racism, like all of those things are why we see, higher rates of abortion in those like marginalized groups that are affected by these other problems. So to say that abortion, to compartmentalize it, it's always been a fallacy from the begining.
And we all, it's like, it's so clear. It's not like some people don't get this.
Right.
You like literally, I could call my 8-year-old in. What time is it? Yeah, he's still awake. And I could just put down and be like, is this connected? And he'd be like, yeah, of course, yes. Obviously. And I haven't like influenced him at all. But so why is it?
Well, because you're talking about echo chambers too. You know what I mean? You're talking about people that are making decisions based on self-comfort and self-desires and and surrounding themselves by people who are like them and wanting to take care of them and their own and all of that. So I think, again, I don't know if we have like as much time left, but I don't want to pretend like there are no answers here, because there are answers. There are concrete things that have been done by organizations and individuals that have set certain narratives. And those concrete things have been motivated by racism and corporate greed and lobbyists for different causes, right? Those are all concrete things that have set propaganda narratives and influences in these circles. So I mean, it's not a non-abstract. For the using of abortion and the unborn has been intentionally and systemic from the beginning to keep those in power. And so, I mean, again, I know we're at like 1 hour and 10 minutes, but there are answers here.
That was good. Okay, anyway.
Hello. So, yeah. I don't know. Mike's probably already like super sweating at this, but.
What? Oh, hi. Hi, everyone.
Well, I think moving forward, I mean...
Am I frozen? Oh.
No, you're not. Moving forward through, like, the divisions that we're all becoming even more aware of. Like, is humor the way we move through? You know, if
I think that there's a way.
How do we disarm people from...
But I think that what we have to do is we have to be like, it's a movement. It's not a fight. It's a movement. Mm-hmm. There's a movement. Because there's always been, when there's social change, right? Mm-hmm. where there's a disruption in the, it's like a thing, there's
a major crisis, like a pandemic, right? And millions of people. Yeah.
So, and like things that have been, in the past decade, pre-pandemic, right? There's been more like of a trend of like taking to the streets than there has since the 1960s, right? All of a sudden, people are taking the streets again. Like people didn't take to the streets for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know that, right? Mm-hmm. And so then pandemic happened. We're in this house, right? The pandemic blows the roof off the house. The light shines in. We see where all the cockroaches are living, where all the dirt is. And
okay, that's a thing too. That's very triggering. I definitely don't talk. Oh, if you don't do anything, please, we cannot talk.
I heard.
I'm from Georgia.
I know. So, but anyway, we saw some stuff that some of us were just like too busy driving by, like running around, picking up kids, like doing stuff and not being bad and not just concerned about our own comfort, very generous people who are helping each other, just not being like woke, right? Not just, and also, by the way, like, I think that some form of woke, awaken is used like 86 times in the Bible or something like that. You can go start looking that up now, Mike. But you can fact check me there. No, but it's like a big thing about the lamps and the waiting for the, or wake up. How come you guys are all sleeping?
Right.
Stay awake, stay alert. It's a thing that like Jesus, God, all those prophets, they're all.
I wonder sometimes, what Bible are some of these circles reading? And like, do you not blush with shame? Because even if you're not reading scripture at night, we hear it every Sunday. Like, do you not blush with shame when you hear these parables that literally talk about being awakened? And
it's like literally describing.
Right.
And I'm saying, look, I also agree on the reading of every gospel that mentions a Pharisee or a Sadducee. I definitely recommend going, okay, how am I the Pharisee? Like you have to read it that
and
way,
that was part of my transformation. Was like I was going to daily mass at a certain point when I was working for the church, and I had the opportunity. It was like in my building at noon, so Catholic guilt kicks in, and you go to mass every day. But like it just seemed like every single day, the gospel was like, Jesus tearing into the Pharisees for some kind of hypocrisy that they were, or some way that they were. Talking bad about somebody else, or, the parable of the prodigal son. It's like and the homily was about the elder brother. And I was like, holy smokes, like, this is like, he's not going after the people who are away from, for lack of a better word, the church, or for, he was going after the people, the self-righteous. The people who thought they had it all together, or the people.
And that's why our movement. I just have to say, and I say our movement because you're all in the movement. By the way, I just dropped you all in. No,
the Fratelli Tutti movement.
The Fratelli Tutti and Let Us Dream movement is. We can't be self-righteous either, right? Because we have to also look at like we can't be like we're Jesus and they're the Pharisees, right? Because it's
yeah.
Like,
then you get caught in it.
Right? So it's like, how am I the Pharisee in this situation? So the solution, so this is the whole thing. I went to mass today randomly.
I did too. And I haven't been to daily mass in a long time, but I literally was walking down the street and like daily mass was starting. And I was like, yay. So that's so cool.
I'm hoping that this was the priest, because those Jesuits, sometimes they go a little rogue. But I was at St. Nathan's Bowl mass today. And so was your gospel the same as my gospel? I hope I'm doing today's gospel correctly. Gospel of Matthew 22.
Oh, it was not the Beat. It was the blessed are you who like weep kind of thing. I was like, yes.
Okay. All right. So anyway, the gospel at this mass, I told you, it was Jesuit. They
really do a different. No way.
Well, I think this was a celebratory mass. This was not just a regular mass. It was a celebratory mass for my daughter's class, 6th grade class mass. Remember, it's a callback. I just brought that up. So,
but they didn't start
in the mass I went to today. So it wasn't the daily mass gospel, but it was, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and all thy soul and all thy mind. I had to like print this out. This is the first and the great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Like how it's like unto it. That's like really stuck out of me today. It's like loving your God. And you should love thy neighbor as yourself. So that's the solution. So how we are not the Pharisee in the story is that we have to do this with love. And the whole thing is that it's very easy to not do it with love, right? So how do you do it with love when someone's like attacking the Pope or, just randomly like bringing up abortion out of the blue when you say disabled people should have rights? Or I, believe in like justice for, people who are victims of racial inequality. Well, what about abortion? What about those babies that were victims?
Planned Parenthood.
Right. So it's like, you're like, no, wait, you're distracting me from moving ahead. And if I engage with you and you awake in me the diabolical motivation to fight with you, then I'm not helping anybody. So the answer is love, because you just love, and also you can reprimand someone with love, right? You can be like, well, I disagree with, like, if someone says, things that are there's very divisive things, and people are very divided about pronouns and like, people who are like, transgenderism, like there's huge social things happening. There's something happening. How are we going to move ahead with this as a church, as a body of Christ? And it is with love. That's how we're going to do it. It sounds simple, but it's like, how simple and complex at the same time, part of that, like that paradox, is that, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and all thy soul and all thy mind. I mean, that is like really hard.
Right.
It's a life's work.
So it's like, and then like that, you should love your neighbor as much as you love yourself, and as much you want yourself to feel good and have comfort and all these things. Your neighbor is also that, not your kid or your friend or you're the guy you have lunch with at the club or whatever, but your neighbor. And who is my neighbor? Can I pick them? Can I pick who my neighbors are? No. Because your neighbor might be that person that you are fighting with. So it's like, I'm moving this way. I'm moving this way. I'm moving ahead. You can either come with me. I love you. You can come with me, or you could go and stay back there and, keep talking your smack about this and that or whatever, and not going nowhere. You're not going along with me, because I'm moving ahead into the future, and I'm open to Jesus telling me to love people who I might not agree with. And if you love that person, if we go back to my scenario about the raising the money for spaghetti and dogs, which was horrible, but it just came to my head. It's like, if those two people love each other, I bet, I bet they can figure out a way to make both of their, little events happen. Right. So, I think it's love. And I challenge you, and all you 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 27. Oh my
32.
God. I challenge everyone to try it, because I'm going to try it. Right. And it doesn't mean you can't be funny, right? You just can't be like mean, Yeah. You be charitable in your, even if you're like that, like, I feel like it's not, if someone just like, because you're a horrible person who's waiting outside the labor and delivery room with a machete. Like, if I like
what the heck, Jeannie?
No,
Who has been DMing you? Oh my God.
People are so nasty to me when I say like,
they are.
you know, I love, it's like I'll say something like, "Oh, go for equal opportunity." People will be like, "You're an evil, like you go out with Oprah and eat like pizza in basements with cannibals or whatever."
Oh my God.
It's like there's crazy like people who are trying to
bring you down into their
like craziness, and it's diabolical because there's progress. And there's people, by the way, who are passionate about the unborn and passionate about the climate and passionate about the thing that can love each other and work together and say, you know what? You might be the hand and I might be the thumb and you're the ear. And Mike, you got to be the eyes. Sorry.
Oh,
no,
I'm not being anything that creates any kind of, fluid. No nose.
Toenail.
No
okay,
did you just say toenail?
What is dry?
You have it. Oh Lord,
we've lost control.
But look at
hair.
Hair is fine. I feel like as long as it's clean. But anyway, I do want to add something here really quick, right? So the other day, I tweeted a little bit about this. The other day, my son was bringing like this little bouquet of flowers and like the wildflowers or something. And I thought he was bringing it to me. And I was like, that's so cute. This boy bypassed me, right? And I was like, rude, and went to his sister. Now, when he went to his sister, Lord, I had to take a minute, compose myself. So, and I was like, this is how the Lord feels. As a parent, your kids are good to you, right? But when you see them being good to each other or having moments of connection or like sacrificing something for another, you will take that any day over the sweetness they give you.
Right? So, you guys, that like Melinda.
The spirit is
we're channeling the spirit.
Yeah, that fire is running. But so I was just like, so when you're talking about like how we move forward, and I did also check myself too, because I was like, that's a cute story and you learned something about God. Now apply that to your life. And I actually did apply it to those who I most disagree with, in the church, and making sure that we always don't want that division. We want to connect with each other. We want to. Now, it doesn't mean we're going to sacrifice like truth or progress, like you're saying, to do it. But it is to say like that is always the goal, to in whatever capacity, to love each other, because I can promise you, like, the Lord doesn't want us coming to him while we're treating each other. Just like if my kids want to come to me after they've made me mad all day from bickering with each other, you can step on, because I don't want to hear that. And it's this whole, like, the whole thing where it's like, like, what is it? Leave your gift at the altar and go reconcile with your brother. Like, that verse came to me too with all of this too. Like, the Lord doesn't want us bickering, which doesn't mean you don't have to stand up for truth sometimes, but he doesn't want us being ugly with each other. And when we're kind to each other, it pleases him so much more than just offering offerings to him. And I feel like scripture is very like clear and confirming that as well. So that's my spirit coming in, and that's my thing. That's all I got.
Preaching tonight.
Boom. Well, Jeannie's on fire too. I gotta compete. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm telling you, I'm like, I can't. That's beautiful. First of all, I love that whole thing. And actually, something came to mind in my personal life that I had a conflict with someone that I want to resolve. Like it, like these kind of fruits, like all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I had a conflict with someone I love that I want to resolve. And I just kind of buried it and said, I had this little bickering fight, and we never said we were sorry, but we just moved on with our life. And it is pleasing to God, but it's also pleasing to God where we have that instinct, because I also am guilty of like wanting to, like earlier today, and I'm going to apologize for this now, where I said people are ignorant. Like there's a tendency, because I'm not like a genius. That's why I have to hang out with smart people like you. Because
which one are you talking to? We must know.
You're all smart.
No, singular. We want an answer.
I mean, I will say that, like, when you guys had Sam Roach on, breathless, smart.
Shout out to Sam.
And Mike.
I'm gonna have to edit that out of the audio version, by the way.
So smart. Mike, get the green out of the. No, but listen.
Wait,
Mike,
but Sam was the one, and so was my friend Tabo. She's amazing too. Did you catch that one?
Oh yeah,
And
the only reason that I didn't shout her out is because I'm not smart. Because I just wanted to say that Mike brought me together with all of you people. So Mike is actually the apex of the. He's the apex. Marketer. So
he's a connector of
yeah.
persons.
So, but
put that in your Twitter bio, Mike Apex.
I did call people ignorant, all right, and that was not nice or charitable. But like, I am so frustrated by people who are not, seeing the absolute waste of time of the bickering. It's like watching two kids at your table being like, no, you said you wanted to have the bigger one. No, I want the bigger one. I want the bigger one. I want the bigger one. And it's like, what's happening?
Right.
Yeah. I get to pick first.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like, we got to end this and we got to move ahead and make something beautiful happen because life is short, you guys. Like we just lost a year. It's gone. It's gone. Look at your kids. Look at a picture of this day 1 year ago on your phone or whatever, and look at your kids, how much bigger they got. That's a life. That's a
we all got a little bigger, but that's I digress.
Yes, we lost a lot, but we gained even more.
But you know it's funny because
we all gained weight.
We all got a little bigger. But the thing is that for me it's frustrating because a lot of my messages that I write about are kind of trying to break this particularly U.S. church out of being so insular, right? We live the faith in such an insular way, right? And we need to bring back like the works of mercy and apply that to what that looks like now. And there are communities that are overly insular. And it feels very ironic that so much of like my energy is addressing again Catholics about Catholic stuff, and that's kind of annoying.
That's love, Melinda. Though
it is love, but I wish
they're going like me, where I just said all those ignoramuses over there. You're loving people by saying
I'll send you some messages. You'll feel better about yourself. But no, I'm just kidding.
I was just angry, but it's like it's ignorant to not want to hear the truth. Can we all agree on that? And it's like. And I'm very lovingly saying ignorance. But what I'm saying is like, Melinda, like when you're writing something to sort of shake, I mean, because it's like, it might not be charitable to like the bishops to say, yo, bishops, what's going on? Like there are people like suffering.
Right.
If you're spending 5 minutes on the communion for Biden issue, because someone's going to write you a check that wants to hear that. That's a disgrace.
Ooh.
We have to, come on. We all know.
I feel you.
There, Mike?
He's like, what?
Didn't hear it? You know that's why. It's pandering. I know what it's like. You're like, I hear we have a convention of dentists here. Oh, who likes teeth? Ooh. Like, I know what pandering is, right? You are making people feel good, so they will write you a big check.
Yeah, well, I mean, and the other thing is, though, it seems that it's so clear to me that, like, that it's to sort of to put Cardinal Gregory in the hot seat, to put Pope Francis in the hot seat. Like, actually, I mean, the piece I have coming out probably tomorrow deals with kind of these issues. It's like this is. We're spending, and I think this is what Melinda was trying to get to. We're spending so much time on these internal, let's getting each other kind of thing. And it's like when Pope Francis was elected and everyone was excited about him all over the world. Like, I mean, it was, not to take anything away from John Paul or from Benedict, but there was an electricity there. There were people whose eyes were being opened. There were people who were looking at the Catholic Church in a new way. And it felt like this group of people within the church, rather than taking that energy and facing and turning it outwards
Mm-hmm.
to the world and saying, this is the gospel. This is who we are. This is Jesus Christ. We are going to bring Jesus Christ to you with the message of Pope Francis, who is his vicar.
Mm-hmm.
And instead it became this internal U.S. political struggle. And think about it. The man was elected when he was, and I hate talking about this and thinking about this, but it is reality. He was elected when he was 76 years old. He's 84 now. Like, the last 8 years, if we hadn't turned in on ourselves, if Catholics hadn't, there were concrete attempts to pull him back, to stop him, to challenge, what he was doing. And if you're a Catholic who believes what the Catholic Church believes, then you shouldn't be doing that to the Pope. And yet so many people did and were closed off to his message. And so I think the movement that you're talking about, Jeannie, is the movement that is trying to make up for those lost years. Movement that is trying to bring the message of Pope Francis to the world. At a certain point, now granted, we all have friends and family who have fallen into this, anti-Francis mentality and into this reactionary and QAnon and stop the steal and all that kind of stuff. And I care about them. And one of the primary reasons why I started Where Peter Is was to draw people back from that brink. But at a certain point, a lot of us have made these connections. There are people that are on board. There are people that are buying in. Like, it's gonna be time to share the gospel with others. And if people are trying to be, trying to hold us back, we've just got to leave them in the dust, and it's really unfortunate. It's tragic for them. But yeah, in the end, that we're called to bring the gospel of Jesus Christ to the world. And for the last 8 years, this group has been doing everything in their power. Some of us learned what that was from Pope Francis. Like, that wasn't even, I was sort of in one of those insular, conservative Catholic mentalities. And I didn't really even think about, serving the poor or social justice or standing up for, certain issues and standing up for people in certain situations. And he opened my eyes to that connectivity. And it shocked me that people didn't listen. Because it spoke to my heart. It spoke to my heart.
It reminds me of what Jeannie was saying, how, the way forward is love, and the love we can look to is the love that God has, which respects everyone's freedom and doesn't force itself on people, but invites with the joy of the gospel, like Pope Francis talks about, or with the peace that it can bring you. And it invites people along, but isn't going to force them to. They need to open themselves to it, but we're not going to force it. We're not going to get angry. We're going to keep inviting, and please come along with us on this beautiful journey with Pope Francis and brotherhood and sisterhood in Christ.
That's such a good point. And I just love Rachel. Not the way she said it.
I think we're way over.
Yeah.
I'm trying to draw it together because we're kind of
all right. This is the laser focus.
Can I ask you for a favor though, Jeannie? Could you tell our viewers and listeners about our Patreon?
Oh. Wait, what is our Patreon? Tell me about it. I don't even know. I really don't even know.
We're having Jeannie invite our Patreon listeners to, or
our listeners to support us on Patreon.
We're inviting is the listeners to become a supporter of what show is this called? I'm just kidding.
Where Peter
I was like, are we inviting them?
This is called I'm just kidding, but this is Peter's Field Hospital. But Patreon is for Where Peter Is, right?
Yeah. Well, this is actually Where Peter Is live. We've we don't know how to do branding, so the live streams.
Bad at it.
Okay, so Where Peter Is in all its affiliate forms.
Yes, just Where Peter Is.
Yeah, that's what Patreon is for.
And in order for you to become a Patreon of this amazing revolutionary broadcast that is weekly on Thursday nights, 8 o'clock Eastern time, and to tell all your friends to come tap in. There's going to be some really exciting guests coming up. I happen to know the secret. Sometimes there's coupons for free ice cream. I thought it was tonight, but it wasn't. But I came anyway, and I
False
just for the
advertisement.
fun. And then I just found out that we never have ice cream, but you're still here. So we got you in the door. And maybe someday we will. But I would really love it if you all became Patreon supporters of Where Peter Is, because it's a really wonderful way to learn about this exciting movement in the Catholic Church that is like real and true and loving. And I'm going to pass it over right now to Mike or Rachel, who will tell you exactly how.
So anybody but Melinda.
Melinda, you literally said, "What's Patreon?" Okay, why would I pass it to you?
Well, I thought maybe
the line and Google it. No,
I thought we were gonna invite our like Patreon people to the after party or something.
No, not me.
Well,
Actually, we've been talking about doing that in the future, doing like a happy hour for our
yes, and
family and friends.
That's the
Ice cream
VIP, like the VIP ice cream social.
And I could bring all of my celebrity fans, like Eddie Cahill, who played tag on Friends during a 7-episode run.
And this is the part where Mike starts to name drop.
Okay, he's gonna
And
name
Zach
drop.
Mabry, who played Porky on
already
in Little
name drop?
Rascals when he was 4 years old.
Shameless. Go.
No, but it is. This is like when the whole Scientology appeal starts to come in. It's like all the celebrities that join this movement. So you should join it too. Like
We're not a cult.
The Little Rascals guy is gonna come.
Okay. Our Patreon link is available on our website if anyone needs that. We want to thank Jeannie for joining us tonight. If our audience who's watching live would share this video in your feed so that others can see it, that would be awesome. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel or to our Peters Field Hospital podcast on wherever you listen to podcasts, so that you get the audio from this episode and for the Critical Catholic episodes are all loaded in that feed now. So thank you for everyone for joining us for this long, exciting episode. We hope you have a great night.
I have one more question.
One more thing.
Yes. All right, so also, I just wanted to invite people who are here to the Where Peter Is website, because the articles and the stories and the publishers and the body of talent continuously amazes and enlightens me. And I really want everyone to know that there is a beautiful, Where Peter Is a beautiful online magazine website. What would you call it? I mean, it's like
it's like a web publication, web media outlet.
Yeah, I call it outlet.
This is the live version where people are going to come on. That sometimes there's probably going to be like a author's chat with some people who've written the articles. Like I know Melinda's written like there's been a lot of talented people who write wonderful ways to look at how we can bring this movement to the next level. So I invite you all in your, with love and with charity to not only invite your friends to the live stream, but also visit the website when you have some time and check out some of the articles, because it's just beautiful and enlightening. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you. All right.
Most people don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
They just stumbled up here on YouTube. Like, you've gotten some troll comments that I deleted.
It was an exciting live stream. Yeah, there were a few people that stumbled in. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We will have another episode here next week at the same time, and we hope you all have a great night. Thank you.
Sure.
Bye.